responsible for playing politics with vulnerable people's lives and homes are held accountable. We must make sure that this discrimination and indifference to suffering can never happen again.
That was Republican Senator Susan Collins, who is going to be
years. Vegetable production down over 6%, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Why? Because these crops make less money.
Fruit and vegetable farming is very difficult. Being in North Carolina with Hurricane Helene coming in and really kind of wiping out a lot of the western North Carolina. It's very challenging to rebuild something that was already almost broken.
Zach Wyatt is the president of Carolina Farm Trust, a nonprofit that supports local farmers. He says many small farmers are getting out of fruits and vegetables altogether. They perish easily and are more labor intensive. Meanwhile, commodity crops like corn, wheat, and soybeans are more profitable. They're cheaper, easier to produce, less perishable, can be mass grown, and sell for more overseas. The government also subsidizes them. Wyatt says it's as if the system is incentivizing small farmers to go out of business, making America more reliant on Mexico.
The more reliant that we are on importing food is the more that we're reliant on power. If we can't feed ourselves, I don't even know how to respond to that.
Another factor is inflation, causing expenses to rise. Also, NAFTA, or the North American Free Trade Agreement, significantly altered the farming business in the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. It promoted trade but made it harder to compete with foreign imports. The USMCA, which replaced NAFTA, didn't directly address this.
It's Monday.
On this edition of International Reporters Roundtable, the challenges facing our youth. Modern technology allows them to interact globally in seconds, opening the door to dark influences. Extremist ideology spreading, drug use on the rise. Today's kids are unfit for military service and uninterested. Who is safeguarding our future? Our guests, General Angela
in China. Pictures on an official Chinese website revealed that the campers were getting military training from 2 Chinese soldiers at a facility featuring obstacle courses and field combat training areas. The following year, a summer camp organized American and British kids to travel to Beijing and enrolled them in 2 days of military training. If that's not shocking enough, in summer 2019, a series of camp events saw over 1,000 foreign children get training from China's top spy body, the Ministry of Public Security. The official webpage for the event said it was designed to train kids to be, quote, little overseas Chinese police. The event was later published on a website affiliated with China's United Front Work Department, or UFW. The U.S. Department of Justice identifies the UFW as a Chinese intelligence agency, which also oversees the circulation of pro-Beijing propaganda outside China. Exactly how concerning are these events? In the name of so-called root-seeking, these camp programs have enrolled thousands of Chinese American children over the past 2 decades. They were first launched as a kind of exchange program by the U.S. and China in 1999.
The reason for this is that they see children as a means to control the future. Now, the Chinese Communist Party believes that individuals who are ethnically Chinese in China and outside of China are essentially belonging to them, and that they should be natural allies.
So how did American schools and parents miss these concerns? Philip pointed out that the camps look like any other travel abroad program on the surface, attracting people with visits to typical tourist attractions in China. But later, they might slide aspects of what's called red tourism into the trips.
So this would be visiting places of historical significance to the Chinese Communist Party. That could be a military site, such as visiting the Red Army base. These things are mixed in, and the children are gradually, I believe, exposed to a worldview that is sympathetic to the Chinese Communist Party.
To solve the issue, Phillips suggests the U.S. government should investigate these camp organizers more closely, and most importantly,
the main issue here is that we should not be allowing a hostile foreign power to be attempting to recruit our citizens for political or any type of military training in their countries. That should be a bright red line that we do not allow other countries to cross.
Congressman John Molinar, chairman of the House Select Committee on the CCP, commented on the matter, saying, quote, "We need to protect all those on American soil from the CCP's authoritarian agenda, particularly by educating the American public on the true nature of the party and its dystopian vision." China confirming Thursday that the U.S. returned 4.
Someone else puts a nice little
I used to do that kind of stuff.
And tell you about it. Yeah. Make sure you say agents too. Agents at your official title.
Long time ago, far, far away.
Well, it just makes you sound more credible. I like it. Yeah, it sounds cooler. So, what are we looking at with these pipes here? So, everything
$1 billion we spent for the so-called war on drugs. 17 billion of that was drug treatment programs, but only 2 billion prevention. And prevention's the key. And that's what I was relaying to earlier, is this idea that this proliferation of drugs that continues and is worse now than ever before. I mean, the numbers are staggering when you see what they are. Educating the kids, letting them know what the deal is important. And also understanding that it's a development issue. A young person whose brain is still in the development process is even more at risk because it will rewire their brain and how they interact with substances, and it can make it worse from the future. So we look at it as it's a development issue, that staying healthy, staying drug-free will help you prepare to lead that better life. And then we augment this with, it's a leadership program, it's a citizenship program, and drug-free is just part of it. Living healthy is about sleep and exercise and diet. It's very holistic, and we share a lot of the, all the youth development programs share similar activities there. And I should probably end there to let you ask another question.
Atlantic Ocean, where they will then eventually travel to America.
If we don't have access to the critical minerals for the green economy, we'll lag behind in terms of greening the global economy.
Strategy consultant Wala Chavala says that the U.S. is trying to maintain its global lead by accessing these critical minerals that include cobalt, copper, lithium, zinc, and germanium. Now, these minerals are used in everything from plumbing and electronics to batteries and fiber optics. The corridor will connect the minerals in Zambia and the Democratic Republic of the Congo to the Libido Atlantic Railway, which will deliver them to the Atlantic Ocean.
Presently, most of the critical mineral resources and the strategic minerals are exported out of the eastern side of Africa, mostly through Dar es Salaam, into China.
China is currently the most active investor in the Congo, which is something that Washington is concerned about. Former Trump officials say that Trump is likely to continue backing the Libido corridor.
In the Foreign Affairs magazine. Now, this article, back then known as the X article, was written by George Kennan. And this diplomat, which has been to Moscow, has been, deployed in Russia. So he was talking about how can America beat the Soviet communists in this Cold War. And really the framework he developed was one that we should avoid direct confrontation. Maybe, have specific points of pressure with the military, but that's not the point. The point is that communist theory has it that America is just like a rotten apple. It's about to rot, it's about to decay, and with the slightest push, this giant is going to fall. But actually, George Kennan made an argument that that's not what it is. On the contrary, it is the Soviet Union and the communist movement, which is a rotten apple. Their ideas are terrible. They have no idea to keep the population that repressed for that long. Their economy can't grow at a fast enough rate with the policies that they have, and they can't renew their leadership because they're so authoritarian. So it became really a defining moment of world history, where George Kennan argued that America has to be America as much as it can. And that, of course, also comes from the tradition we discussed with the Pilgrims. And the communists can just be the communists as much as they want, and we'll see who stands out longer, with this ideological war of nutrition. So really, it goes back to what we were discussing of the idea of natural rights versus the law of man, rights that the government gives to you. And really, America stood out, and it's standing out again, as it again is facing authoritarian threats.
Marcus Shakis, thank you so much for joining us.